all the latest on the SaWGuY Podcast, be sure to subscribe and don't forget that bell icon. Welcome to the SaWGuY Podcast. As always, y'all know, I am the SaWGuy, and damn, what a crazy year it was for year 2. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to everybody that subscribed to me on my YouTube channel, the ones that follow me on my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate that. With that being said, year 2, there was a lot of growth, and there was a lot of, behind the scenes stuff that you didn't get to see. I branched out into various different segments, from my $5 horror finds, to From the Grave, and all the fun stuff with it. So this is a year 2 in review for you guys. I'm going to talk about the behind the scenes stuff. I'm going to talk about, the reasons behind I do things, and where I get a lot of the ideas from, and stuff that you probably didn't even know. So sit back, relax, let's get this shit started.
Hello, and welcome to the SaWGuY Podcast.
My reign of terror was legendary.
You stutter, bitch.
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
You opened it, we came.
Oh yes, there will be blood.
As I said, with year 2 of the SaWGuY Podcast, there was a lot of growth. First and foremost, it was a lot of growth because I think I kind of found my footing with doing this podcast. I really do. And a lot of it, too, I think has to do with the choices in the movies that I decided to do episodes on. And I also branched out to various different segments. In my last year in review, I made a lot of promises that I'm going to branch out and do this and do that. And I'm one of those types of people that will tell you, I'm a man of my word. I really am. And I tried to branch out, so a lot of segments I did. There was a few that I didn't, that I was kind of disappointed in myself. I wanted to branch out into the whole video game scene, and it was just very difficult trying to get in. It really was, because I was just like, shit, But eventually, I am going to bring about, horror video games and stuff like that. Maybe some retro classics, some of my favorites that I still play. But, with year 2, there was so much, upstart with it. There was so much, excitement, at least in my eyes, because I knew I wanted to branch out and try something different. First and foremost, some of the few things that I did is that I added different segments, and as you see behind me, and you've probably seen the whole year, I have a green screen now. I decided to learn how to, brush up my editing skills and things like that and have some fun with it. The idea of a green screen came about because, I was talking to a buddy of mine last Unicorn, and, I was, scratching out ideas on my notebook and everything like that, like, what would make it pop, and he goes, well, try learning how to do a green screen. And, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, well, maybe, because before, you used to see all my horror figures and everything behind me, and I thought, fuck it, you only live once. So I got a green screen, and it was pretty cool. I got some lighting and everything like that, and I, did a lot of tutorials, a lot of online research and everything like that, and learned how to do it. Obviously, in my first episode, it was kind of a little rough, but, I got the hang of it. I think I would have gotten the hang of it by now, right? But, with that being said, when I started, year 2 of the SaWGuY Podcast, I thought, okay, let's have some fun with it. I'm going to throw some more obscure films. I'm going to kind of make it more, I guess you could say, intimate. That way you learn a little bit more about the man behind the mask. If you're one of the few lucky ones that follow me on my Instagram, you might have seen me unmasked a few times, but I only leave it out there just for a little bit so you guys can see, because I know I get a lot of questions about that. When I started working on year 2, I thought, okay, I'm going to plan everything out, and it's the same thing that I always do. I plan out different episodes, I sketch them all out, and I basically say, okay, well, I'm going to do this episode because it ties into this. I want to do this one because, it's kind of very intimate of who I am and things like that. And the first episode I started off with was House. And I know a lot of people are going to say, like, what's so intimate about House? House was one of my favorite ones, and I got to see that film a lot as a kid because of Alan Autry. Alan Autry, he was the mayor for a long time here in Fresno. And during his time as mayor, they always would play, all of his movies that he was in and TV shows, In the Heat of the Night and stuff like that. And one of those films was House, and they always would play it. And I figured, oh shit, he was the mayor of my hometown, Fresno. Fuck it, I'm gonna put that in there. And that's what I did with it. That's how the whole idea about came onto it, And when I did House, I wanted to do it in my Big Ben mask. that's a mask you probably won't see too much because, you know, when I decided to do that episode, I didn't put 2 and 2 together and think like, oh shit, green screen, green mask. I think I did okay on how that looked as far as like putting it together and editing. But I mean, from my perspective, I was like, I know I could have done better. But I did love that mask. I put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into that one. Originally, I was going to do like bright neon colors, but then, you know, I had a friend of mine. They're like, man, that looks like I'm laughing because I can't get it out. They said, man, it looks like a apple that's been dipped in caramel. And, you know, when I first started looking at it, I was just like, oh, shit, okay, well, maybe there's some truth to this. So I went back, kind of scruffed it up a little bit. So that was my mask that you see. It was not a one and done. I might bring that mask back for year 3. We'll see. I mean, I'm still brushing up on my skills with every episode and segments that I do. But then later on, I started doing other segments. And my other favorite one that I like doing that you guys all enjoy is my $5 horror finds. When I started that, it was just kind of a fluke how it came about. I was looking through movies and stuff like that, and of course, you know, me and Last Unicorn, we were hanging out, and I said something about like, oh man, I want to do another segment, I don't know what to do. And then he says, well, why don't you talk about $5 horror movies? And, you know, then kind of like the ball started rolling on that. I said, okay, well, how would I do it? He goes, well, you can do it, just put a SaWGuy twist to it. And that's what I kind of did. I started that out, and I decided to give it the SaWGuy twist, you know, of how I wanted to build it and things like that. Obviously, it was still kind of rough on the edges because I didn't know how to do thumbnails and how to make the backgrounds and stuff like that. That all came in due time. I think, you know, later on, halfway through the year, I got a lot better, and then you start seeing it. But at first, I was just like, okay, this is really rough, but I'm going to try this out. And I did. You know, I did the whole $5 segment with it. And, you know, I wanted to do where it's like, okay, you know, I went digging through, and then I found this, and then how I build it all up, you know, and how you present yourself from my experience is, you know, says a lot. And that's when I was thinking like, okay, well, how am I going to present this? And I thought I did pretty good. The only thing is that I struggle with is that I didn't want it so quiet in the background. And eventually I started putting in some of my own homemade music that I did, but kind of doing your own homemade music and then editing and then try to squeeze it in the video, it's a lot of time, and it's kind of difficult if you're, you know, crunch time for it. So I decided I would get some of my favorite music or some music that ties into it and then just loop it. And, you know, eventually I got the hang of it. At first, though, you could tell when it was like a hard cut and everything like that, and I was like, shit. But eventually I got better with it, and it became a fan favorite of you guys. You know, you guys all really enjoyed that one, so I kept continuing with it. Other ones that I did, most of you guys remember my horror news update, and I love doing the horror news update, but the problem with that is by the time you find out the news, you make an episode or a segment, and then you know, put your thoughts into it, you edit it and everything like that and post it. The news is already 2 weeks old, you know, and I was just like, shit, you know, I didn't want to do that, but I had fun with it, don't get me wrong, but then later on I decided, okay, I'm going to do like one specific topic and then kind of cut it short and maybe make it like 4 or 5 minutes, you know, for a video for you guys to enjoy. And I had more fun with that, you know, with the news that Saw was being remade. And when I heard that, I was just like, oh my god, I have the inspiration right now to get this shit rolling. Gotta put in my 2 cents on this. This is my favorite franchise of all time, you know? And I eventually still might do that, you know, with different horror news. I mean, depending on how big they are and things like that. But the way how I originally was doing it was, I mean, to me, it needed a lot of polishing. It really did. And I think that's what this whole year was about for me in year 2, was that, you know, trying to polish up my skills a little bit. Year 1, I know it was kind of rough because I did an intro, me talking for 30 minutes, and then an outro. And I'll never forget, you know, when I posted my very first episode of SaWGuy Podcast, I had a good friend of mine, and he was telling me, he's like, hey man, I love you, you're a cool dude, but, you know, I was watching your episode, I got your points, but later on in the whole episode, it just went stale as fuck, dude. And if you're watching this right now, hey buddy, I appreciate the honesty, man. And I tell everybody, honesty is the best policy. And once he told me that kind of gave me, you know, the hunger to do better, to make it more entertaining and fun for you guys. Because then I went back and actually watched the episode and I'm like, oh shit, he's right. You know, it did get stale in some of this. There was no music, it was all quiet, you hear my voice, and to a certain extent, I did like that aspect of it because, you know, I've done podcasting before, but it's a huge change when you go from doing just talking to a microphone to actually doing it visual. It's a huge, like, two different fields with it. And I was still kind of grasping at that, and still sometimes I do, but not as bad as I used to. But then some of the ideas I came out for later on episodes, I had to do Final Destination, and I wanted to, bust out my demon side. That was the whole reason why I chose Final Destination as my next episode, because then I can bust out the whole demon makeup and everything. I did the full makeup, all over my head, the sides, the ears, the neck, everything. And what it is it's a latex mask that I bought, and it didn't look, very good at all. So I went back and I said, okay, I'm going to airbrush this, fill this in, black out the eyes, and, roll with it. And it actually became kind of almost another iconic character, as much as everyone loves, Possessed Billy. And with the demon character, I have two variants of it, one where his eyes is showing and one that isn't. And the whole reason behind that is that my eyes, they change color from green to yellow a lot. And I've done a lot of test footage, and for me, it's distracting. If it's distracting to me, I know it's going to be distracting for the viewer. And so that's why I was like, shit, okay, I'm going to keep my eyes covered, unless it's a specific mask, because then it starts throwing off the lighting and then the editing. And, when I say it goes from, like, green, like, it goes from a green screen green to, like, a bright, like, sunshine yellow, and it's weird. So that's why I always usually have my eyes covered. And that was the reason behind the demon character, was that way he's going to be more melodic and stuff like that. The demon character came about because it was more or less something, I believe, that everybody has a dark side to them. And, it's just, I had some fun with it. And I was just like, shit, let's make it seem like SaWGuy has a demon side. So that's where that idea came from. He's made other appearances too, my Monsterpalooza special. And he also did, one of the $5 war finds. And then later on, I figured, okay, well, I'm going to do just my regular mask. And at the time, I was almost going to retire the main mask I wear, my Ouija Billy mask. Just because of the fact of, there's so much wear and tear. It's hard to get on the mask sometimes and get it to fit. It's like a good 15-20 minutes just to try to get it fitted in and the hair fitting through and all that stuff. And the mask that I came up with, I called it the Year 2 Billy mask. The only problem is, though, the mask was so big that it just didn't fit right. I should have fitted it myself, but it didn't. I put it on, and then by the time I was trying to talk with it and try to film and do test footage, it didn't fit right. So I was like, shit, But I still had that mask, and it might make an appearance for you guys. We'll see. But, in the end, I'm kind of glad that I decided to keep this mask because, it's almost synonymous now with SaWGuy Podcast. And with that being said, like, this mask ain't going nowhere. This is the main one you always will see from now on. Later on in episodes, as what I started doing is that I started kind of getting theme-oriented. February was coming up. I want to have some fun with it. I decided to do My Bloody Valentine, and I also did Valentine. Valentine was one of my other favorite, holiday horror films, and a lot of people really forgot about that film until they actually announced last year this time, that they were going to do a Blu-ray release of it. And everyone's like, oh shit, I remember that film. So I normally don't like to get into trends, but because it's Valentine's, and then they were going to release the Blu-ray around Valentine's, I was like, okay, let's have some fun with this. And I did. My Bloody Valentine, I didn't know how to do the 3D effects quite as well yet. I was still practicing. The only 3D effect you got to see me do in year 2 was in The Shining, when I had the axe and I did it right in the screen. And it was fun. It was cool. I was like, oh shit, I was impressed with myself. I didn't think I could do that. Eventually, I'll probably bring in some of those effects, but at the time, I was testing it out with My Bloody Valentine 3D, and it kind of brushed up my skills a little bit more. And I have so much videos to go through. I have my computer up right now to show me everything, because I literally forgot half of this stuff that I was doing. Obviously, I did some behind the scenes stuff for you guys, because that's when I came back on to Instagram. When I first started out, I did only Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and that was it. I wanted to brush up those skills first, and then later on, when I felt like I was ready, I'd come back to Instagram. And when I came back to Instagram, oh wow. My first few posts, I must have got like 40 or 50 likes, just like in an instant. And I loved all that overwhelming support. And thank you guys for that, because it gave me a lot more inspiration, more food for thought. And it inspired me to do a lot more with Instagram and do some Instagram exclusives, like possibly seeing me on Mask, maybe. But it was pretty cool, And I got to branch out a little bit, and, the SaWGuy name, or the SaWGuy Podcast, it started getting out a little bit more with that. Twitter, I like using Twitter, don't get me wrong, because all the breaking news happens on Twitter, but it's very difficult to kind of, post something and people see it. Instagram, I think a lot more people are on Instagram than Twitter. I'm not sure. I mean, let me know in the comments below if you think that, because, I mean, I'm kind of curious to know, because I think it's like 50-50, but there might be a little bit more for Instagram, I don't know. But going through some of the other episodes, I decided I wanted to do one on Hatchet. And that came about because, when I was wearing my mask and when I came back on Instagram, a lot of people asked questions about my masks. And they said, okay, do you not make them? Do you have somebody else do them? I said, hell no, I do it all myself. And, with that being said, it kind of inspired me to want to do a mask that kind of branched out my, skills on mask making. So what I decided to do, I was going to do the scarecrow based on the folklore of the Iranian culture of like the actual scarecrow and stuff like that. And so what I wanted to do is I got a plain Jane mask, the same template as the one I'm wearing now. But what I did is that I wanted to kind of give it that burlap, worn, torn look, like it's actual burlap and everything like that. And it's just like oozing out shit. As you see in the video, I did a whole mask making episode on that, or a segment. And when I did that, that's all original music for me. Actually, wait. No, the first one was. The second one wasn't. But after I did the second one, I was like, the music doesn't go with it. So I kind of went back to my original music that I actually did. The second one that I did for the Scarecrow, that was actually copyrighted material from a band, Time Cop. And I love their music, so I was like, God, I got to put this in there. So I put that whole song in there, and it was kind of entertaining. I really did like it, but later on I figured, it doesn't go well with the theme with it, But when I designed the mask, I had some fun with it, I decided, okay, I'm going to use the plaster that they use to, make walls and shit, or to seal the walls in between the sheetrocks, and then, as you see in the video, I had to dip it in, wring it out, and then put it on, and then mold it and everything, and I had to use a lighter to kind of push out all the air bubbles and everything, and then paint it, and then, kind of muddy it up a little bit, and it came out, pretty good. The only problem is that when I wear the mask, because it shows the eyes, I have to wear all the makeup and everything like that. And wearing the makeup, for me, I usually don't complain on it, but it's just to get into that level of mind thought, I have to really, sit and think, and then it's like, okay, I'm ready for the war paint. And then that's when I start putting it on and everything like that. Because I don't just use, your basic grease makeup. I use a lot of water-based ones, water-activated makeups, just because they stick to my skin better. Behind the scenes, I actually sweat a lot. I sweat all over, pretty much. And using grease makeup, it doesn't go well with my skin. So that's why I was like, okay. But if I use water activated, it just sticks really good. And that's the same type of makeup I use for the demon makeup as well. And later on, I decided I'm going to branch out to other segments. So throughout this whole year, I was like, okay, I already have $5 horror finds. I have the horror news update. I decided I wanted to do the horror opinion. And that came about because I'm a big fan of TED Talks. And TED Talks, I had to watch a lot of that when I was going to school for, my CLS training and everything like that. And I enjoyed it. I really did. There's some inspirational stuff that you learn. And I figured, okay, what if I was to do that, but with horror movies with a SaWGuy twist? And that's where the horror opinion came out. The only problem is just I've been wanting to branch it out more, but I've been kind of testing out to see doing a different method of it. I want to do it so you see like a full body shot, like how they do in TED Talks, walking around and they talk and they have like a PowerPoint behind them. That'd be pretty cool, So I'm still kind of testing that out. So you might see the horror opinion come back soon. But then later on, I kind of branched out and tried other favorite episodes of mine, Another fan favorite a lot of you guys liked was the Scream episode. I think it was because of the Masterpiece song, I Hear Him Coming. Scream! He did that for Scream 2 actually, but I put it in for Scream 1 to have some fun with it, and then I did the whole dancing thing and everything like that. But Scream was always, one of my favorite slashers, and I had to put that out there. And then, going up the list as I'm looking through all my videos, I did a horror unboxing. I got a lot of questions on Instagram about a lot of my horror collection, so I figured, okay, I'm gonna do a horror unboxing. But, when I went out shopping, I bought like 17 figures. And when I got that many, I was like, do I want to do one at a time or do one big one? And I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go all big. Let's do 17 unboxings right here, right now. And so I did that. And I think that's still my longest episode that I've ever did, or longest special. Just because I think I was pushing close to the hour mark on it. I think it was like almost 50 minutes on that. But when I was doing that, the funny thing, out of the whole thing is that trying to present it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to present this one, and then I'll present that one, and then I tried to put like the text and everything on there so everybody had, a good view of what it was and things like that, because the green screen did kind of mess with some of the coloring and stuff like that. But then it came down to this gummy pickle Rick that I bought. And I'm not a fan of pickles by any stretch. When I said, okay, I actually literally opened it right then and there, as you see in the video. And I said, okay, I'm going to taste it. Slipped it under the mask. The fuck is that? And I put that funny ass scene in there from Loiter Squad where he's like, yeah, I want a burger and let me get pickles. I'm not gonna lie to you, I took one little piece, like that much, I bit into it, and I fought everything inside me not to fucking throw up on camera. And I was just like, oh, what the fuck? After I did finish that whole filming segment and everything like that, behind the scenes, I literally threw up. I just couldn't stand that fucking taste of it, because it tasted like McDonald's dry-ass pickles on their burgers. Like, ugh, fuck that. Like, that tastes coming back in my mouth right now just thinking of it. But that was one of the craziest things that I did on that, and I was just like, ugh. And then later on, I did a promo for Monsterpalooza, because I wanted to branch out and take the show on the road. So, behind the scenes, what I decided to do, I wanted to do the Teen Wolf scene where he's dancing on the band and stuff like that. So, I called in some help from my mom, because she has a SUV, right? And I figured, okay, I'm going to stand on top of this SUV. It was a Tahoe, and I was, like, going to try and do the dancing moves. And we were literally going to do the whole thing while driving. And a lot of people have said that, man, you're fucking crazy. And I was like, no, I'm going to try and get the right shot. Obviously, it didn't work out as the way I wanted it to. And I had to do some of it behind the green screen, and I had Last Unicorn help me out with that. But what was funny was the fact of how I pieced it all together, and he still has some of that footage, and we just kind of ran wild with it. He put a Baby Shark theme on it, and I was like, oh, fuck, dude. But, I mean, we had fun with it. It was my promo to break out to say I was going to Monsterpalooza and take the show on the road. And at Monsterpalooza weekend, that was fun, because you got the whole Monsterpalooza aspect that you can do. We got to go see the Myers house and the Laurie Strode house, which is like a stone throw away, like 5-minute drive from there. They have, various different things you could do in LA, or Southern California area. One of the main things that we went to go check out was the Bearded Lady Mystic Museum. And what's cool about that is that they're also an oddity store. They've been around for a minute. They were an oddity store, and then they branched out to do like this museum art exhibit. And at the time when we went, they did it on the occult. So that's when I said, shit, I'm going to bring all the masks and we'll take various different pictures of everything, have some fun with this. Then we also went to another exhibit that they opened up called I Like Scary Movies. And that was actually pretty fun because it's interactive. You can have fun. You can see all these scenes from the movies. It's basically like you're in the middle of the scene of a movie. So like in The Shining, there was a room you went into and the whole, from top to bottom, ceiling all over, it was all the floor print. Then you would go through these secret double doors into, Derry, Maine, It was cool, and it branched out to various different things. And then you got to see the Nightmare on Elm Street ones, Beetlejuice, The Lost Boys. It was a fun, good time out there. And I figured, okay, well, I got so much footage. How am I going to put all this shit in one episode? That's going to be tough. So I decided to do a special 2-part episode for you guys, because the special 2-part, I normally don't like to do them, but I figured, okay, I'm going to try and do this. And the reason being is because, when I do a 2-part episode, I like to film them back to back, because I don't like to do one edit and then put it in there, because sometimes there's some points that I miss. And, with that being said, I spent the whole day recording that whole 2-part episode, literally from 8 in the morning until like 4 a.m. the next day. Just because I had to do, the first one was all Monsterpalooza, then I figured, okay, well, I'm going to have some fun with this, took the mask off, and I decided, okay, I'm going to do the demon makeup, make him, come back for a special. And it worked out really good. And then later on, during this time, I was like, okay, I want to do Tales from the Crypt, and I want to do both movies back to back, but not as a 2-part episode. So I decided to call that the Gruesome Twosome. And it's kind of a play on a joke that I have, that's why I call it the Gruesome Twosome. It's a haha, inside joke. But I decided if I was going to do the Gruesome Twosome, I have to do it in order for the movies. So Demon Knight was the first one that came out, and I did Bordello of Blood. And those are two of my favorite, Tales from the Crypt movies, but also 2 of my favorite Tales from the Crypt, anything. Was the movies, because the movies were so fucking funny and iconic, especially Bordello of Blood. I had a lot of fun doing that one. But during that time, I kind of took, a little bit more time away from the show because, I got a different green screen for one. And two, a lot of that stuff that I had in my garage where I originally was filming, I had to take all that out and put it in my spare room because the green screen was so big. It was kind of hard to fit in. And while that was also going on, I got to achieve my dream of, getting a Dodge Challenger Hellcat Red Eye. And, if you've ever seen a Dodge Challenger Hellcat Red Eye, that's not a type of car that you can leave out in the street. You have to have that bad boy parked in the garage, locked down at all times. So that was another reason. And with me moving all my stuff, you guys have seen that I got quite big of a collection. I moved everything all up, with another friend of mine. We were moving some stuff up and everything, and taking the time to build stuff, and put it all together, it was very time consuming. I lost about, at least a month from the show from that. So I was like, shit. But at the same time, I was still able to film, $5 horror finds for you guys. I was still able to film various other different segments and kind of hype up the next episodes, because my next episode I did after that was, one of my favorites that a lot of people forget about was The Eyes of Laura Mars. And that was really John Carpenter's first major film that got him noticed. If you've never heard of that film, go check out that episode because it's very interesting. And, it was my 50th episode, so I had to do something obscure and something cool. With John Carpenter, though, the whole story where it came about is that he wrote the script and he sold the script to, one of the producers who was dating Barbra Streisand at that time. He wanted Barbra Streisand to star in it. She read the script and said, no, it's too violent, so she decided to sing the soundtrack. They changed up his story, and you got what you have now. For whatever reason, as I was researching that episode, I couldn't find anything of John Carpenter talking about the movie, other than the fact of, they bought my script, and that was it, Later on, that same year, he got famous because he did Halloween. So that film gets overshadowed a lot because his first real breakout was Halloween. But the one that kind of got his name out there noticed was The Eyes of Laura Mars. So, it's an interesting episode if you want to check it out. Episode 50. Of course, later on, everybody was asking me about my masks, if I wanted to make more, if I was going to do more. So I decided, okay, I'm going to have some fun with this. So I decided my next mask was going to be an heritage mask. And the heritage mask is based on my culture and everything like that, because I'm, Middle Eastern, I'm Iranian. And I figured, okay, let's have some fun with this. I'm going to kind of make it like a 300 kind of twist, have the mouth open and everything. And it looked really good. It took a long time for me to, burn off the mask, the mouthpiece, and then to kind of make all the textures and everything and kind of put the designs in. The only problem is, though, is that I didn't fit it onto my face correctly. And I cut too high instead of cutting it a little bit lower. So when I wear the mask, it sits really high and I can't see, but you can see my mouth. If I sit it low to where I see, the mouth is all the way down to my chin. And so I was like, shit. And originally I was going to use that for my next episode, which was the Death Proof episode. And I actually filmed, the whole episode in that mask. After reviewing it and double checking all the footage, I was just like, no, I can't do this. This is something I can't do, But the Death Proof episode was something fun because, I got to branch out in it, and I always told myself, if I ever get my dream car, which was a Challenger, if I ever get that car, I'm going to utilize it in some way towards an episode for this show on Death Proof, because Death Proof was one of my other favorite films. And, long and behold, it was just like, it happened. And I was just like, shit, I got to do this. And originally I had planned that I was going to, wear my icy hot jacket and everything like that, have some fun with it, but being from a small town, you can't have too much fun like that. So I was like, okay, well, I'll get a couple of shots of me driving and kind of mashing in as I'm, trying to be, I guess you could say, I was showing the point of view of Stuntman Mike, and, you see the car, and the way I did the shots, I did them precisely in a way where you can see the car, but it goes so quick that you can't tell what it is. And I had some fun with it, and that really kind of, pushed my, I guess you could say it pushed my work into getting better for the trailer announcements, because when I was doing that, even though it's only a minute, it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this transition, trying to blend it in with this, and, just the way where you see him driving, it's actually me driving in my Challenger. I'm driving down, and I figured, okay, what am I going to do with this? And then that's when I thought, okay, I'm going to do a flash, like in the movie where the lights come on, and then they do the crash scene, shh, and then you see the logo come out, bam. And I was just blown away that I was able to do that. I was like, holy shit, I had a lot of fun with that episode. I really did. And that's where I try to branch out and try to have, throw in some other fun things in there. I like American Dad. American Dad's one of my favorite TV shows. So I had to throw in that scene in there with Roger. It's like, I'm going to do it like this, And I did that purposely, with the whole, lap dancing scene. And that shit was funny, dude. Later on, with some of the other segments, I decided, okay, I'm going to do a taste test because now it's Halloween time. And my favorite taste test that I like to do on things, it's only on foods that I like to eat. I'm a big fan of Mountain Dew.
A little bit of the
So that's when I was like, oh shit, they have the Mountain Dew Halloween flavor called Voodoo. So I'm going to try this out. So that's where I tried it out. I did mess up though, because the first swig I took at that video, I was like, damn, this is actually pretty good. I go for a second, and because of my notebook, I always carry my notebook on me with everything, but obviously I'm not using it today. But I had my notebook, it was closed, and I was like, damn, this is good. So I lift up, and the whole fucking thing, everything all fell apart, and I was like, shit. That's why I put that technical difficulties on there. But it was good though, and I got to have some fun. I threw in some different scenes from movies, from Scary Movie and stuff like that. And then I kind of branched out and said, okay, let's do some promos. And I wanted to do some promos for Instagram, for Twitter, for my Facebook, kind of like when you scroll through on your feed and then you see it's like a promo and stuff like that. I'm a firm believer of self-promoting. I don't like to do the paid advertisements, because if you have to pay for it, it's 9 times out of 10 people really don't enjoy it. That's my belief on that, my opinion. But that's why I try to do like various different, promos and stuff like that, so that way people see. And I decided to do a promo, and I did it specifically on something very similar to House of a Thousand Corpse, and that was like my first wink out there to everybody, because I like to do a lot of winks of what episodes I'm going to do next. And I had it planned on Halloween, I was going to do a House of a Thousand Corpse video. And when I filmed it, I had no idea that what was going to transpire with the whole thing with Captain Spaulding with Sid Haig. I had filmed it, got it out there, and then like news dropped that he was sick in the hospital, and I was like, oh shit, hopefully he's going to get better. Eventually, later on, we all know he passed, which is unfortunate. Rest in peace, Sid Haig. Because, he was great for what he did for the whole franchise of, Rob Zombie's movies. But that was the whole reason why I did the promo, was because I wanted to self-promote myself, but it just kind of came out at an odd time where, I had filmed it, got it out there, and like a day later, that's when they said he was sick, and everyone was like trying to, I don't know, it felt weird for me. It was like, whoa, there's some weird deja vu shit going on, At that time, I was also filming another segment I called From the Grave. From the Grave was something I used to do on a previous project of mine, and I loved it. And it was just one of those things where it's like, man, because the reason why I loved it is because there's a lot of films that you could talk about that people don't remember and forget. The first one I wanted to talk about was, 1 Hour Photo. I've never been a Robin Williams fan of like his comedic stuff, because, I've never been a fan of comedy films, really. But, when he started doing serious roles and then he did 1 Hour Photo, I was just like, holy shit, like, this is all new, this is fucking amazing, and a lot of people remember that film when it first came out, and then it just kind of died down. And then that's the whole reason why I did, From the Grave segment, was to bring back films that a lot of people kind of either missed out on, they remembered, but they forgot. And, I still have a long laundry list of films that I need to talk about still. The next one I did was Pacific Heights. It was Michael Keaton in one of his first bad guy roles that he really did. That was a fucking creepy one. If you've never seen that, check out Pacific Heights. I believe it's on Hulu right now, actually. But it's a good film. And, after I started doing those segments, a lot of people were like, holy shit, I remember that film. Or like, what? He actually did a bad guy role, It was pretty cool how that all came about. And at that same time, I was doing, more mask making. And, I decided I was going to do my first actual giveaway. My giveaway that I was going to do is that I was going to do one main mask as this, the Billy style mask, but I was going to paint it as Pennywise. And the reason why I was going to paint it as Pennywise, because that's when It Chapter 2 came out. And then, I would have like other runner-up prizes. And I decided I was going to make those as like the Joker's henchman, because Joker was coming out. And I'm a big fan of Joker. And I wanted to go with a clown theme with this. So I was like, oh shit. But each mask is something different. Like I did one where it was just, plain Jane and clean, and I sprayed sealant on it. The other one was kind of medium scruffed up, a little dirty, and then I did one that was really beat up. And so that way everybody got something different. Nobody really got like the same. And my motto is, you want to have some fun with that, because then that way everyone sees like, oh wow, there's this mask. Oh wait, there's this mask. Oh wait, I might like the cleaner one. And I did the whole giveaway and everything, and I did it as a Facebook exclusive. And it was fun. The only thing is though, the way how I did it is just, I basically got everyone's name and I put it on a box, shook the box. What sucked is that I was doing it on live. This was my first time doing, the Facebook Live or going live on anything. And what I do, I dropped the fucking box. So I had to pick up everything, put it all back in. But I mean, hey, that's live, right? So I had to have some fun with it. But eventually, I did that. And after I did, the whole giveaway, I said, hey, since you guys all tuned in, what I'm going to do is show you how I made the main top prize mask. And I did that with the Pennywise one. And interestingly enough, when I did that Pennywise mask, I did it all in one day, like from midnight until 6 a.m. And the reason being is because, I had so many ideas and the ways how I was going to paint it and sketch it out. I plan everything out, I really do. I think about the masks and stuff. But what I decided to do is like, okay, I'm not going to show how I, paint it all base white. And that's basically what I always do in my masks. I tape off the eyes and mouth. I already had it shown that I was painting it base white and then trying to put in the designs and everything like that. It was a difficult mask to kind of do because you had to try to match it as close and as iconic as I could. And then the eyes, in between, I figured, okay, I'm going to fill it in as black when I should have left it as white like in the movie. But, I wanted to have a little bit more of a SaWGuY twist with it. It was fun, though. It really was. While I was doing that, I was also planning to do, my final few episodes of the year. And I had planned, obviously, for House of a Thousand Corpses for Halloween. I was going to do The Conjuring, Saw 2 for sure, because Saw I've always done as a Halloween special, but I wanted to do House of a Thousand Corpses, something a little different, something that you guys weren't going to be expecting. And then I decided to do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Shining. And when I was planning all those out, when I did the Conjuring one, I wanted to have some fun with it and really test my skills. So I decided, okay, I made it look like I was Ed and Lorraine Warren or a ghost, ghost investigator. I was going to do something like that. So I kind of built it all up that way, made it look like I was looking around. You see the hands clap and everything like that. As I was filming it, I had to go to like a really dark place, to kind of get that mindset of Possessed Billy. That's a fan favorite that everybody's loved because I'll bring him out from time to time. But Possessed Billy, he was last seen on my Dead Silence episode. And I said, shit, I gotta bring him back before the year's up. So I decided to bring him back. But then when I did the episode announcement, I said, okay, now I gotta do another announcement showing that he's back. And that whole thing I did in roughly one full take. And what I did is that I put the camera in there, and I had one light on in my house. And I filmed it. And it was kind of creepy because it was pitch black, it was quiet. And the way how I acted about how I was talking to myself and stuff, and then had to get into that moment where I was transforming into Possessed Billy. I used the transformation from the Hulk. That was actually one of my old favorite TV shows, the original Hulk from the late 70s, early 80s. And I did that whole transformation where he was like, no, no. And then what I did as Possessed Billy, I wanted to have some fun with it, but I also had to tweak up the voice. And a little bit of the inspiration also came from, from wrestling. I'm a big wrestling fan too. There's a character named Bray Wyatt where it shows he wears, a mask and he calls himself the Fiend. And Tom Savini actually did his mask. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta have some fun. Gotta throw in a wink in there on that. So some of the background music you hear, it is from his theme song from wrestling. But what I did is that I wanted to branch it out and everything. And when I did that, I kind of acted a little weird on that episode on purpose. There were some things I would talk and then I would go quiet. And then I talked back again. And interestingly enough, one of my friends, he came out. He's like, hey, man, I think you missed that spot. Go to this point of 326. And I was like, no, I didn't miss that. He's like, yeah, you did. He goes, you went blank. And I was like, I was trying to fight off the possession of Possessed Billy. And that's the character that I tried to build up with Possessed Billy is that, he's a character who wants to take over. And, anytime I start hearing voices in my head, and all of a sudden he just comes out, and then my voice would change with it. And that's where if you ever watch that episode on The Conjuring, I spent a lot of time on that. I put probably about 4 pages of notes that I had stacked on me, talking about every single little thing on this, because James Wan, he put a lot of work into this, and he put a lot of subtle hints in there, and if you ever get a chance to check out that episode, because that episode, I mean, I must have got like 15 gray hairs just doing that, just the filming alone on that, and then trying to piece everything together and get it going. And then obviously later on, I did that so late because it took me so long to do. I had to, get the Halloween episode cranked out, and that's what I did, the House of a Thousand Corpse one. And House of a Thousand Corpse, that's one of my favorite Rob Zombie films, so I had to throw that in there and have a little bit of clown fun with it because, at the time, that's when, Joker came out, Pennywise came out, everyone's crazy about fucking clowns, and, I had to talk about one of the most popular clowns out there, Captain Spaulding, of course, And it was a fun episode. And I got to, represent my hometown wearing my Fresno shirt. That was pretty cool on that. But then later on, I said, okay, well, I still got to do a Saw episode. Every year, it's always that I try to do at least one Saw movie or Saw sequel into the lineup, So I decided, okay, I'm going to do Saw 2. And the way I came about with the trailer announcement is that I was going to do it as myself, playing as Billy, like talking, on the screen and everything, and make it look like a TV screen. And now you'll see it in my intro, because that was one of my favorites that I got to do. And with Saw 2, there was so much that I wanted to bring about on that, but I was like, I gotta save it for later on in the sequels, because I know 2 lines up with 3 in this point and all that, but for sure you'll see another Saw film coming in year 3. I can guarantee you that. And then, at that time, that's when Thanksgiving was coming. And with Thanksgiving coming up, I wanted to have some fun with it as well, because I wanted to always do an episode on Texas Chainsaw. But the problem is, everybody does it in the summer, because it's a summer film. I wanted to put a dark humor note on it and said, no, I'm going to do this as a Thanksgiving film. And when I presented it to myself, and I kind of told, Last Junicord about it, because I kind of throw some ideas with him. Hey, what would you think of this, And he looked at me and he was thinking, why on Thanksgiving? And I told him, I said, because it's about a family who eat a lot of meat, and, family is everything on Thanksgiving. And then that's when kind of the light bulb went on with him, and he's like, that is a great fucking idea. And I was like, yeah, I know. No, it's just, I wasn't cocky. It's just, it was just more or less like, that's the way I see things, how I present and plan things. Whether it's, a time period or something, I think of something fun with it. And with that being said, I said, okay, let's do some footage. I want to try and film and do something really big for this trailer announcement. And he goes, well, what do you have in mind? I said, okay, we're going to go out to the middle of nowhere. I'm going to reenact the final scene, and I just need you to help me film. And I normally do all the filming myself, but I needed his, expertise on, trying to get certain spots of what I wanted to see. And, he caught a lot of my vision, which was pretty cool. And when we were going through it, we did this out in the middle of nowhere in Fresno, If you guys know the old Friant Road and live here in Fresno, that's where I filmed it at. What was interesting, though, it was funny because, I went out there in the full mask. I had, fake spray blood. It was, eco-friendly and everything. It washes out. So I sprayed it on the ground, sprayed my boots. And the way I had it planned is that you would see the ending first, where you see, like, the bloody boots and everything, the blood dripping off of the chainsaw. I wore my belt buckle of the actual saw blade that spins, so I don't know if you guys saw that. Cool little wink. And then it goes up to my face, and then you see me, like, breathing heavy. And then that's when I start putting in the text of, like, Texas Chainsaw. Then you see me running around the corner, and then you see me, like, running at the camera, like, swinging the chainsaw. And then that's when I do the iconic chainsaw dance. I tried to match it, but obviously y'all know I can't dance. But I had some fun with it. I really did, I love all kinds of musics. Everything from, oldies to, techno and rap. It's just, I have no barriers when it comes to music. I like them all, whether it's dubstep. And I always try to implement every single aspect of all music into it. I mean, shit, I even get down with country. And when I was doing, like, the whole trailer announcement for the Texas Chainsaw, I said, okay, I got to use Roy Orbison's Running Scared. It goes so well with it, and I did. Unfortunately, though, because I did the full song, even though it was only a minute, YouTube, they put a strike on it, and I was like, but, I had some fun with it, and it went perfect. And even though it was under a minute, I still, to this day, think that was one of my favorite ones that I got to do. And towards the end of the year, I wanted to go off with a bang for year 2. And with that being said, I wanted to do The Shining. And I had always planned to do an episode on The Shining in year 1. But the problem is, every time that I wanted to do it, there was, various other podcasts that would do The Shining. And I don't know if it was because it was like the anniversary of it. It was like, oh yeah, 30 years ago The Shining came out. Or if something happened, people would talk about The Shining. And every time I wanted to plan to do The Shining, everybody was doing it. So I said, shit, okay, now's not the time. And my motto is, I don't want to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. Because if we're all doing the same thing, that's not entertaining. At the end of the day, it really isn't. And that's my belief, and that's why I kind of dance to the beat of my own drum. I really do. And, that's when I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do The Shining for Christmas. And it's just, there's so much aspect of it, that reminds you of Christmas. You're stuck in a home with family that you don't want to see, and then somebody fucking snaps. And that's true with Christmas. And so it's another dark humor joke on why I wanted to do that. And when I was planning everything out for it, I said, okay, I want to dive into the madness of Jack Torrance. So I filmed various different scenes where he, you see him where he's talking at the bar to himself and everything like that. He's walking around with the axe and stuff like that. And if you see the behind the scenes of it, you'll see that I legitimately went out to a Home Depot store, bought an axe that closely matched it, and then I had to put in some work to kind of make it look like it. I sanded it down, I had to stain it a certain way, and then scratch it all up and everything. And I thought it came out okay. I mean, it's not 100% accurate with the point on the back end of it, those are hard to find, but, filming the scenes that I did as I was piecing it all together, and then I was also filming for behind the scenes stuff with it. And it was just like, okay, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, let's see how it goes with this footage. So, you see me walking down the hallway, and I actually was kind of reenacting his voice, Daddy boy! But I thought it just made it, pop better if I used from The Shining. And it really did. As far as the music that goes, that I didn't want to use your typical Christmas music. Just because of the fact that if you use just your basic Christmas music, everybody knows it. Everyone's been doing the same thing. And as I said, I like to do things on the beat of my own drum. So for the music, I decided I was going to do the Taylor Swift version of Last Christmas. And the only thing is that, what I started doing is that I can find certain songs. And for me, if it's an annoying song, kind of like Taylor Swift's version, if you like that version, I apologize. I mean, to me, it's my opinion. I really didn't like her cover of it, and I'm not a fan of her, music. So I figured, okay, I want to have some fun with this. I can make it kind of sound creepy and everything. So I kind of tweaked it up a little bit. And what, I got was what you guys hear, how it's like very slow and eerie and creepy. Same thing with what I did with Conjuring. I got the original Sleepwalk. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to tweak it up, make it scary and everything like that. Something that's going to rock you to your core. And that's what I kind of did with that. But at the same time, when I was doing the Shining episode, I said, okay, this is going to be a big freaking episode because, one, you can't just talk about the Shining without throwing in the theories. And two, I wanted to show the behind-the-scenes fun that you guys normally wouldn't see. And three, I would have to do the audio-only version of it, So, I mean, that was like 4 videos I had to try and squeeze out. And at the time, the whole month of December, I was filming all the different segments and stuff, working on the editing. I really actually didn't get done until Christmas morning. So, my whole Christmas Eve, I was working on the episode and everything like that. Christmas morning comes, it's like 6 a.m. It's like, shit, I finally finished. I gotta post this episode. And as that's uploading, then I'm working on the audio only. And then once I finish audio only, then I post the behind the scenes. The Shining Theories, I had to do that as a separate segment because there was so many oddball ones on there that I would have probably extended the episode really long if I had done that. So I was like, didn't want to do that, kind of like this year in review special. I'm probably already pushing, almost the hour mark right now. But it's interesting. I mean, and that was the whole year 2 experience, was just branching out, trying out different things. Beginning of the year, I was still kind of green, still kind of learning the ropes of things like that. And I got to have some fun with it because I got to learn, like, okay, green screen, this is what you do with it, how you can get, like, the cutouts and all that stuff. Making a thumbnail, learning how to do all that and try to fit it in so that way it's correct. Some of my older thumbnails, if you still see, I left them, and I don't plan on changing them because, it's more or less like it's a timepiece for me. It's like, okay, that's how you know when I first started out, I was a rookie, that I was, learning the ropes on these things. And that's why I haven't changed a lot of things into it. Because, I like to put a stamp on it for myself. Like, oh shit, from the very first episode to now, I like to see, all the growth that I've done. And, all this growth is also, too, because of your guys' support. And like I said, I can't thank you all enough for supporting the SaWGuy Podcast. But, with year 3, I plan to do a lot of big things with it. Obviously, I'm still going to continue a lot of my various different segments for you guys. I'm still going to do the same episode lineup that I'm going to do, where it's episode, and then there's the audio-only version, there's a trailer announcement. But what I started noticing is that, I wanted to do a lot more of my promos that you see on Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to try and see if I can branch those out into YouTube and incorporate it in there somewhere. Because I feel like YouTube gets left out a lot, in some of the promos. YouTube has a way where you can kind of do it similar to Snapchat or like the stories feature off of Instagram, but you got to have so many subscribers and stuff like that. That's a cool feature if they open it up to everybody, but they really don't. And so that's why it's like, okay, so now I got to do something for YouTube to kind of, branch out so everybody sees it in all platforms. So you'll see a lot of that stuff coming through. As far as the movies and episode ideas, you're going to see a whole lot of different ones. I know for a fact I kind of went a little obscure with some different themes that I did. I went obscure, obviously, with, the Eyes of Laura Mars, or I went obscure with the fact that I did both Tales from the Crypt movies, which everybody loves the first one. A lot of people, it's with Bordello of Blood. Hatchet, I love personally, but not a lot of people can do blood, guts, and gore. And so that's where I kind of tuned into it, Saw is another great franchise. I love doing that because that's obviously my favorite. But I mean, it's few and far between because now of how many that they're cranking out. Texas Chainsaw is a classic, of course, and obviously it's Shining. But I mean, you'll see that I'm going to kind of branch it out there a little bit too, I might do some more recent films too, because that's another that's another request I get a lot of people asking me, whether it's from my Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. A lot of people have asked me, how come you haven't done anything recent? How come you haven't done, more recent films and things like that? I think the most recent film I've done has been, obviously Insidious, The Conjuring. And I did most of that, in year 1, except The Conjuring I did in year 2. I do want to branch out to more modern stuff, but like I said, I try to dance to the beat of my own drum, and I don't want to follow what other people are doing, And like I said, if I do that, then it's not as entertaining. Now, it's not a knock on anybody or anything like that, or any of the other podcasts out there or anything. It's just more or less like, for me, I like to do something different. I like to kind of, like I said, go, everyone's going one way, I go the other, because that's the way how I've always been, and it's just, if everyone's doing the same thing, my belief is that somewhere down the line, someone's going to slip through the cracks, and I do put in a lot of creativity, a lot of work, and a lot of hard thought into everything that I do for SaWGuy Podcast. And still to this day, I tell everybody, if I'm not 110%, if I can't give, 115% to everything that I do and record and edit, then I know for a fact that it's not good quality in my eyes, And so that's why I always try to do, something different. But I know for a fact that definitely, I did hear a lot of requests out there for doing more recent stuff. And I actually promised that for you guys. I will do a little bit more recent ones. I might throw in an obscure one from time to time, we'll see. And I know as well, a lot of the viewers out there that have, reached out to me, a lot of you guys like the segments, you want to see various different other segments. I'm working on different ones for you. I know there's so many ideas I can do for segments and stuff like that, but I know the main thing is that I want to try and do stuff that's more homegrown and original. So for sure, you'll definitely see a lot more mask making ones. Just because of the fact that I have, at least 15 masks that I'm still working on currently right now. I'm actually working on my next episode for year 3 for you guys as we speak right now as well. So that's going to be an interesting one when you guys see that one. But there's also, too, a lot of, promises that I made in, the first review that I'm still going to try and live up. Obviously, I want to try and branch out to different video games and stuff like that. Since I got my Challenger, I know a lot of you guys kind of want me to branch out and doing, something with the car. If you want me to do, car videos and things like that. I might tie that aspect into this as well as a segment. I'm still actually working on it. Like I said, I always keep my book of notes with me. pen right there on the side. I'm always jotting down notes, so I'm going to try and do something fun with it. Year 3 is going to be a different beast of its own. With some of the ideas and everything that I've already planned out, it's going to be a different ball changer for the SaWGuy Podcast. And, I'm happy for you guys to, be tuning in and supporting SaWGuy Podcast. And like I said, I can't thank you enough. But thank you all for tuning in for this year 2 in review special, and I'll catch you all in year 3 as always.
Bow down to the